Join us now on Flickr at flickr.com/groups/art of photography. Welcome to the Art of Photography. My name is Ted Forbes, and if you've been joining us in the Flickr group, we've had some comments lately, and I had a question that was asked if I could talk about some things that were more kind of conceptually related to photography and less with the technical aspects of things, which I am certainly happy to do. And it was posed in this question is, in terms of becoming a better photographer, getting really good work, it was kind of suggested that luck plays a big part of this. And I got to be honest, I'm not a big believer in luck. And so what I'd like to do is a series of podcasts that really detail in on some compositional aspects of things and some more artistic valued types of subject matter that pertain to what we're doing. And I think what's kind of strange as an artist is it's real common for whatever reason that people kind of confuse opportunity mixed with preparation. They get that mixed up with this thing called luck. Well, luck is something that just happens, usually inexplicably out of the blue, and certainly it's happened to me, and I've gotten lucky at times and been able to get a good shot, but I cannot place my art and skill into that exclusively, because otherwise I'd never get anything done. I'd be sitting around waiting for something to happen all the time. And so, again, it's like Johnny Bench, the famous catcher, once said, when somebody said, do you feel like you were given opportunities, or I can't remember what specifically it was posed, but it was the similar subject, and he said, most people don't recognize opportunities when they come along because they come dressed in overalls and look like work. And I think a lot of people, it's that way with creative stuff too. And creativity is very subjective at times. Art is very subjective at times. And I can't remember who said it, but another great quote is that luck is really the culmination. It's the sum of opportunity plus preparation plus talent. And really, those are the kinds of things you want to think about, and the things that will make you a better photographer. You've got to commit time to it. You've got to commit practice to it. You've got to just do it a lot. And you also have to study and take notes of things and really analyze and discern what makes this photograph speak to me. Why do I like this photographer? Why do I like this style? Why do I like shooting these kinds of things? And come up with some concrete reasons as to what those might hold for you. And today we're going to start that off. I'm going to talk about a concept called the rule of thirds, and which is really applicable and familiar to most people who are designers or even painters or sculptors, things like that. And I think, again, the best way to illustrate this is if we kind of get off this camera and go over to the computer, and I'm going to actually show some images here, and we're going to talk about what the rule of thirds is and how it works. Okay, the rule of thirds. Now we're going to talk about the rule of thirds, and what the rule of thirds kind of dates back to the late 1700s in paintings, and it's a compositional guideline that basically states that if you divide your ground or your composition into thirds, and you can go up to 9 sections here, dividing by 3, that those are points of interest that create tension naturally within your composition or within your picture. And so let me show you what that means. Let's take the type off here. If I simply subdivide my canvas here into thirds here by putting 2 lines down the middle, we have 3 sections. And what this states is that in this simple model here, that these are points of interest, that things that fall on these lines create tension, and these are natural subdivisions for your composition. You can also, we've subdivided vertically, you can subdivide horizontally as well, and create a similar feel here. So these would be my points of division, and you have points of interest that fall on those lines with natural subdivisions between them. You can also go ahead and subdivide in a more complex manner, and you can subdivide not only vertically but horizontally both, and that you get these cross points here, and these are referred to often as the golden section or the golden mean, and these really create, they're mathematical equations that actually go with this, but these are generally your highest focal points of interest when dividing by thirds. So if I divide by thirds twice, I have 9 sections here, and then these intersections are the greatest points of tension or focal points. Now, what I want to do is look at some photographs, and these are some pretty classic, famous photographs by a photographer named Arnold Newman, who was famous for doing environmental portraits, and he was pretty much a stickler to the rule of thirds. I want to show you how these images end up kind of coming to life here. This first image is a portrait of William de Kooning, who was one of the key artists in the New York school in the 50s of abstract expressionism. And you can see real quickly that you can see your subdivisions here. This is kind of a tighter photo, but you have 3 sections basically. These 2/3 are blended together. This is negative space over here, and then you see de Kooning kind of peering out of this translucent canvas with splatter painted on it over here on the in this far right section. So again, rule of thirds, that's where the point of interest is. Also, if you go ahead and subdivide this even more, horizontally as well, you'll see that he kind of takes up this bottom portion down here, and his eyes kind of sit on that point of tension, or that the second horizontal line. So again, rule of thirds, and you can see how Newman has used that here. Let's look at another one. This is a portrait of Allen Ginsberg that was taken in the mid-'80s. And Allen Ginsberg being a poet, I think what makes this photo is not so much the fact he's adhered to the rule of thirds, because compositionally you can in fact see that most of your activity is happening up here in this first third here, and then the lips fall on this point of tension here. But what makes this portrait actually is the fact that in his eyeglasses you can see reflecting a cacophonous library of books, so to speak, in the background, which indicate that he is in fact a poet. This is another photo taken in the mid-'70s by Newman. This is famous painter Andrew Wyeth. And you can see here, this is another classic example of the golden mean. If I go ahead and subdivide all the way across, you can see that your focal point, where his head is, sits here on this golden section right here. So anyway, that's obviously this one really sits classic into the rule of thirds model. His entire body is on that plane right there. And here's a famous portrait of Martha Graham, who's a dancer and choreographer known for modern techniques. And again, this kind of similar compositional aspect to the de Kooning photo that I showed you first, where you use a lot of negative space. So you can see that if I subdivide by my thirds, you see that she falls, her figure falls on this point of tension right here, and really there's no delineation over here except for the fact that this is just largely negative space over here. So it really creates a nice minimalistic quality to the photo and really makes it just the base composition, which is what I think makes this work. The fact you have a balance bar on the back indicates that she's a dancer, but the minimal qualities of this piece, just the blank wall, she's wearing a robe, really turn this into something that's exceptional. And then finally, this is kind of a little bit different example, but this is the famous Stravinsky Portrait. That was done in the 40s, I believe. And what's interesting about this, there's several things. I mean, obviously you can talk about the compositional aspects of the piano being here, forming the lowercase letter B, or the flat symbol in music. So even if you don't know that Stravinsky's a musician, you can guess that by seeing the piano lid. I think it's worth noting too, if you're looking at minimalist ideals here, is that he's only shown enough of the piano so you know what it is, but you don't even see the entire piano. So I think that's pretty key too. A lot of times in composition, the hardest part is not what you put in, it's what you leave out. But anyway, snap this back to the rule of thirds here. You can see that the corner of the wall here happens on this first third division vertically. You have 2/3 negative space over here. But also, compositionally, you get another subdivision of thirds that go diagonally. And the piano lid lines up on that line. You have Stravinsky himself sitting in the first third over here. And then, you kind of have your secondary third over here. And these aren't hard on these lines. Probably this one is, the edge of the piano. But anyway, this creates a point of tension. Also, you have the support for the piano lid that happens over here, which could subdivide this even further. So I think what makes the Stravinsky Portrait great, well, there's many things that do, but certainly the rule of thirds being used here in a diagonal, fairly unconventional way has really set up some heavy things as far as shape and line go in the composition, which I'll get rid of my ugly lines because it's a wonderful portrait. But anyway, so that's what the rule of thirds is. Some people are more strict to adhering to this than others, but it's a great place to start and experiment with and work on building your compositions based on this. So it's been The Art of Photography, and thank you for watching.